Dave, anything for anywhere else?
Of course there is. Chepstow's on. I wasn't going to leave the people without one.
Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mount to look ahead to the action at Newmarket and York. Of course, it is Future Champions Day at Newmarket, so 2-year-olds to the fore and then some. Loads of races to go at. But before we do so, we better look back at last week's results. Unfortunately, a blank day last week for Dave, but Andrew, clearly he was on hand then to provide a couple of winners. And he has been in great form this week. 14-1 and 8-1 winners going on. So make sure you catch Andrew's column as if you needed a reminder as ever then to catch his tips in his column. Now, of course, the first of the weekend winners was Al Kareem beating Al Azi in the Cumberland Lodge. And in fairness, Dave did give you a heads up then for the second and the third after a monster run from Lafayette at 33-1. So they had the £53 winning tri-cast between them. Andrew also told us that Tamfano was going to win the Sun Chariot. He was right. And then despite both Arcadian Thunder and Popmaster being significantly supported in the Challenge Cup, neither could land a blow for the boys. But again, we've got plenty of action to get stuck into this week. Right, we're going to begin at Newmarket with the 115. This is the Group 3 Darley Stakes, 3 and over 1 mile 1. Loads of names we know plenty enough about in this one, Andrew.
Yeah, cracking race this. It's a funny old one for Newmarket's Rolling Mile because front runners don't seem to do well in it. Certainly not in the last 10 years. No front runners won. 7 horses came from well off the pace. 3 more were fairly prominent. Now, horses dropping in class have got a poor record as well. It tends to go to a horse who ran the Group 3, a listed race or a handicap last time out. So Liberty Lane sort of leaps off the page, really, given that impressive Cambridgeshire win over course and distance. He was admittedly well drawn, but we've already seen one of the horses from that far side group, EBT's Guard, come out and win since. So I think he's going to go really well again at Liberty Lane, despite that prominent running style that hasn't been so effective in this race in recent days. And the other one I was interested in at a bigger price was Skellet for Rafe Beckett. She fits the stats, having won a listed race at Sandown last time from off the pace. And I think I'll just put her up as my pick, given their respective prices. But I might muck about the forecast as well. Should also mention the stalls are in the centre again. And given what's happened at the last 2 Newmarket meetings, I'm guessing they're going to go far side, thinking the ground will be better over there, as like it has been recently. Although keep an eye on that, because there was a high draw bias in this last year when the 4 highest drawn horses finished 1, 2, 3, 4 in a field of just 9. But I'm sort of Skellet stall 2 could be well drawn as well.
Yeah, and still 2 for Skellet, who's 8-1 has been backed in there from sort of 12s and 14s as well, Skellet, but also a fan of Liberty Lane in there. But Skellet is a main play for Andrew. Dave, who'd you like?
Oh, I like Andrew this week because I fancy Skellet.
We all like Andrew.
You fancy me?
We like Andrew every week. But yeah, when he started going about Liberty Lane, as a part of me, when you obviously like respected judges, when they look at a race and they potentially see it very differently to how you do. That's not to say that I don't give Liberty Lane a chance, but I was worried that Andrew was going to make such a solid case that I'd question my ability to look at form after last week's performances. But Skellet ticks all the boxes. So I've done cheat sheets for both days of these Future Champions days. All of the last 10 winners had between 2 and 4 career wins. They either won or didn't place last time out. 8 of the last 10 winners had 4 or 5 runs that season. The other 2 hadn't won. 8 of the last 10 did not run in group company last time out. 7 of the last 10 had run on this course. 5 had won. So Skellet has run and got pretty close, to be fair. And then 7 of the last 10 winners had an official rating of 105. And of course, she's a lady, so she gets some weight in there. So it was her and Savvy Victory were the ones that were left with everything. But Savvy Victory is a bit of an older horse now. Got to give the £7 away. And of course, Ryan Moore's been jocked up by Rafe Beckett. Juddmonte, they won the Arc last week. So Skellet might not be the same standard, but ladies to the fore again. So she's obviously got a proper chance in here. Lead artist is for Juddmonte 2 in here, probably going to go off as favourite. But I just wonder how much money is going to come for this Skellet. You touched on the fact that her decks started to shorten up. It's 8-1 with Bet365 top price at the time of recording. I very much doubt that'll be available. I'd imagine that Skellet could be pretty much so well back that she might even go off favourite. She's won cheek pieces her last couple of starts, resulted in a Group 3 head second behind Blush at this trip on her penultimate start. I thought that was a reasonable run. That horse was admittedly well beaten, but well thought of enough to go over to Woodbine, didn't it, and run in the Group 1 fillies and mares. Next time out after a 66-day break, looking to me as though they took that break for a reason to wait for something like this, but had run in like Group 1s before that. But the 66-day break went and run at Sandown, that Fortune Stakes. And while she's got the cheap pieces, she was beaten a neck here before in the Oh So Sharp Stakes, and then she was beaten that head by Blush, but she was well on top of the line at Sandown, didn't look like she was stopping. So I don't think she's potentially as quirky as some of these short distance winning margin horses are. I think she's probably been set back for this because they tried her in that Group 1 company. She just fell short, and they've looked at this and thought, Skellet will win this. So Ryan Moore up top. I really like Skellet, and I'm glad Andrew does too.
Both of you two in agreement with our opener, and another filly then for Rafe Beckett for judgment. Like say Ryan Moore though taking the ride this time around. Skellet, but hoping for another good weekend for those connections. Right, we'll switch over to York now for the 130, the listed Rockingham Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. 3-1 the field in this one, Dave. So I'll let you have first stab.
No, you should have said his name, Bolognese. Got to be one of the best.
I know. Oh, it's so good, isn't it? So good.
I've only just realised that I was going to say Bolognese. So
thank God Dave's going fast.
Well, I'm pretty good with like the names like that. I used to call him Bolognese, but when he ran in the Goffs 500, won by 7 lengths. But by the time Chris Hayes had finally asked the horse, I looked at it thinking the horse was travelling really well. You know when a jockey starts to get at him and you think, oh, maybe I've got this wrong, maybe it's not travelling as well. But it did absolutely just rocket clear. That was the Goss 500. So it was 250,000 euros or thereabouts the horse picked up for that run. Now, I know like there's obviously like better class races that are out there, but I think this genuinely is a group horse. It's running a listed race here. I think it was potentially by design that they waited. They've obviously picked up that big prize money, and then they're going to come here. There's like lots of future targets that could go in for this horse. But you go back to the first couple of runs this horse had as well. So last 2 starts have been at 6 furlongs. Penultimate start was whacked on the nose by the other jockey's whip, which might have helped him. Not that they needed to hide for that Goss 500, but was showing a winning attitude and then obviously shied away like anyone would do. The 2 runs before that were at 5 furlongs. First time up was sandwiched in between Benevento and Havana Blast. Now they have run at different trips, but Benevito's now rated 104. Havana Blast is rated 90. So although Bolognese was like a lowly rated 70, I think, or 70 something in that Goffs 500, now rating of 99. Sorry, looks about the right number on that first one alone. Next time out though, ran second to Asterius, who took the scalp of Big Mojo at Doncaster. That made it back-to-back group wins for that horse. He's now 109 rated, and that was again at 5 furlongs. So this horse is bred to want at least 6 furlongs at this age, or 6 furlongs will be perfect, and probably wants a bit further in time. Like I say, I think after those first couple of runs bumping into horses, the prep where they had a little bit of a break before the Goss 500 looked like design, and I'm adamant this is a proper group performer. So 3-1 about this in a listed race. I think Bolognese will do for dinner tonight.
Nicely done, Bolognese. Just horses with good names just deserve to be good horses, don't they? Where it almost feels like when you've got a really good name, and it's not wasted, because no name is ever wasted on a horse. When you've got kind of a lower level horse, and it's always like, just kind of wish it was like a listed performer at least. But Bolognese hopefully then will be a listed winner at York. Andrew, who'd you like?
I don't think it's as straightforward as that. It's not been a race for last time out winners. There's 1 from 39 in the last 10 years. You could back every single runner in the race over the last 10 years and make a profit. At Betfair SP of about 22% on turnover. 8 of the winners finished second through to 5th in their prep races. And horses who started as favourite last time out, 0 from 20. The ones I was looking at, well, there's 2 of them, but one's entered tomorrow in the Cornwall Stakes at Newmarket, so probably won't run. The one I like is Shadow Army, blinkered for the first time, gelded since we last saw him. Bred for soft ground, being a sort of showcasing out of a Marie of Leon Mare, who was a soft ground winner. So I just thought Shadow Army for Richard Fahey and Wathenham Racing could be the one. So the other interesting one that was Pearl of Windsor, who ran at Ayr last time out, finished 6th, but only beaten 3 lengths, was a 22-1 shot. And that was that Star of Memas, the listed Rosebery Stakes, where the Star of Memas just like blasted off and couldn't be caught. And a few horses who've finished behind the winner that day have come out and run well since. Uncle Don, who was second, ran an absolute blinder from a terrible draw in the 2-year-old trophy at Regnar last week. And the 4th, King of Light, has won since. So I thought the 6th from that, Pearl of Windsor, if she runs here instead of in the Cornwall Stakes at Newmarket on Friday, would have a great chance. Just on that, she will be going in my column for the Cornwall. She's 50-1 best at the time of writing. She's drawn towards the far side. I think she's got a great chance.
Yeah, she's 50-1 for that one then tomorrow that she's currently declared for, with David Egan taking the ride, David Allen taking the ride on Saturday if she goes for that, and she is a 20-1 shot then at York in the listed of Rockingham. But the other horse she gave a shout out for, Shadow Army at 5s, again, who has been really well backed since the time of declarations in those first time blinkers. Do just watch out for him as well. Right, the 150 now at Newmarket, the Group 3 Zetland Stakes. Heroes again, this time over 10 furlongs. So the future stayers pretty much to the fore. Now, Stars in Their Eyes was favourite when I clicked on this race previously. Shackleton has steamed to the head of the betting now, Andrew. They're about 9-4.
Yeah, some interesting stats with this. This is 10 furlongs for 2-year-olds, so quite a long way for the youngsters to go. And 10 years ago, this race was a conditions contest. Then it had 5 years as a listed race, and this is the 5th year as a Group 3. So looking at the last 9 years when it was Group or listed, all 9 winners ran over a mile last time out. Those who ran over 7 furlongs, like Stars in Their Eyes, didn't do any good. Those who ran over 9 furlongs or further, like Shackleton, didn't do any good either. And if you count the sort of mile and half a furlong trip at Epsom as not being at 1 mile, then only 2 runners ran over the preferred distance last time out, Dunamase and County Mayo. So without having done masses of work on the race, I was just going to split stakes between that pair and probably mess about with the forecast as well, numbers 1 and 2.
The 1 and the 2. So was it Dunamase and County Mayo then for those? So Dunamase 9-2 and County Mayo at 8-1 then for Aidan O'Brien. Dave, who'd you like?
It's one of Andrew's again. This is going very well, isn't it? It's almost like we compare notes, but we don't. So, similarly to Andrew, like this race where we said that the horses ran at a mile last time out, that was sort of the angle I was looking at. I didn't really want to penalise Shackleton too much for running over a little bit further. But like Andrew said, the horses that have run at 9 furlongs haven't done so well in here. Dunamase and Shackleton, they both look like grinders. And I think that the step up in this trip will probably suit the pair of them. There's a lot more to come from Dunamase, I think. Shackleton's obviously improved every single run, and I'm sure he's not finished improving either. But I sided more with Dunamase on a price thing, 9-2 about him. But I don't know whether I'd actually have a bet on him. But there's not too much form to go by, is there? But Dunamase would probably be the selection.
Oh, so again, these abrupt sentence finishes.
Yeah, I was waiting for
by surprise.
I was waiting for more then.
They're so abrupt, but again, at least there's some agreement there. There's some joke in there, isn't there, about County Mayo, Dunamase, Mayonnaise. There's some link we can make, but I'm not clever enough to figure it out. I've got like names with food bases on my mind at the minute. Right, that was the 150 at Newmarket, the 205 at York up next, the 0-105 handicap. 3-year-olds and over, again over 10 furlongs, but obviously of older horses, and up at York. 8-1 joint favourites in this one, Dave, between Bolster and Bennetot. So who'd you like?
Well, this is tricky, right? Because I feel like, especially this time of year in these handicaps, there's been so much form for horses going back and forth, and then we've seen lots of draws at tracks and stuff where there's been, I don't know, excuses for horses. I feel like I get really fuzzy with it. You touch on it being 8-1 the field in here. We've got a couple of bookies that are priced at the moment, but some are as short as 6-1 with one of the firms, and they're as big as 14s with the other firm. So lots of water to go under the bridge before that settles down. But we do know that at York, you really do want to be drawn in a low draw. Dual Identity is a horse that he ran well in that Cambridgeshire, although he was obviously on the wrong side, second in his Group of 8. He ran well at the track on his penultimate start as well, but he was on the right side of the draw. Got a really bad draw in here. So he's the type of horse that's just going to give me FOMO vibes, that if he goes and wins, I'll be annoyed. But I'm showing some discipline. I can't put him up. I can't bet him. But potentially his style, there's lots of horses that are drawn wide in here that have got fancy chances. Who knows? If a jockey does the right thing, they might be able to overcome that draw. But yeah, I will be leaving him alone. Bennetot's the one that I fell back to be honest with you. At top of the market at the moment, 8-1, and both bookmakers are in agreement with that horse. This trip, now up to 1 mile, 2.5, looks like it's bound to suit him. His course won over a mile. He was just never able to get there. That was behind Thunder Run, and Thunder Run was probably a very well handicapped horse that day. Only up £1 since then, so run quite a few times off of a rating of 91. Been in the places on every single one of them. Would have needed extended places for that Thunder Run race, I think, maybe, but won 5 runs ago as well off a little bit of a lower mark. just looks real consistent and looks like the type of horse that wants to do well. And like I say, the fact that he's been finishing in the places, I think he's a pretty safe option. He's got a nice low draw. Every reason to think that he'll run well here, and he's pretty unexposed considering that he's been running quite a bit. I think that this trip now, 1 mile, 2.5, he's fine on any type of ground. Like if it's got a bit of ease, he'll be okay. But if it does dry out a bit for York and it gets a little bit quicker for him, I think that will help. So got a favourites chance, but like you say, it's 8-1 favourite bar the field. So it's a competitive looking race.
Yeah, different prices, about a whole range of these in here. So we've got a lot of settling down of the markets to do. But Bennetot then at about 8-1 at the time of recording for Dave. Andrew, who'd you like?
Yeah, the two I was interested in are the two Shaker Bade runners, Bolster, who was probably unlucky to have bumped into well-handicapped Mustazid at Newbury last time, finishing second. That was his return from a break and on his favoured soft ground. So assuming he's going to stay fairly squidgy at York on Saturday, I thought he'd go well despite stall 13. He's got the early speed to get across and get a good position. But I prefer the claims of Sisyphean for Kevin Ryan. This one's been off the track for 10 weeks. And you look at his form unofficially, good to soft or soft to going, only 2 runs, second by a head at Air. And then in July, on his first run since wind surgery and first run for 3 months, he's won by 5 lengths over a mile here at York when racing up with the pace. And, since then, he's gone to Goodwood, good to firm ground, probably too quick for him. Still run really well, finishing 4th, beaten 1 length. That was on his first try over 10 furlongs. So I think this trip with a bit of cut, at a track he clearly likes, I thought Sisyphean had a great chance. I can see 9-1. I can see him. I think that's going to go. I'll go on record now as saying Sisyphean will start as favourite for this, 9-2 or 7-2.
He was 9-2, and this is actually one that you've tipped up that has actually gone the other way in the market since the time of declarations. 9-1 now, so yeah, being pushed right out then. But yeah, so hopefully that will contract again. But those couple of Sheikh Mohammed Abeid horses, Sisyphean and Bolster for Andrew. Right, we head back to Newmarket now for the 225 Group 3 Autumn Stakes. 2-year-olds once again over a mile this time around. Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore heading the betting. They've got the battle going on at the head of the market with Godolphin in there with Silver Peak. But Delacroix it is, though, Andrew, for Ballydoyle.
Sorry, where are we at? I was just trying to get a bet on Sisyphean then as we were talking.
Still just trying to get the right price on him. 225 Newmarket, the Group 3 Autumn Stakes.
Yeah, all you've got to do here is go with Godolphin, haven't you? I mean, Charlie Appleby's bidding for his 5th straight win in the race. Godolphin are bidding to win it for the 8th time in the last 9 years. The full record in the last 10 years of Godolphin-owned runners is 7 winners from 11 runners. Profit of £26.55. Now, the beaten horses, they had a second in 2019 at 4-1 when they also had the 4-1 winner. There's your forecast. In 2020, they had the third at 9-1 as well as the 5-1 winner. And you have to go back to 2014 when the last time they weren't represented and didn't win it. That's when they had the 3rd and 4th at 11-4 and 5-1. Their sort of runners, Silver Peak, I thought he had a great chance. Aidan O'Brien in the last 10 years, no wins from 14 runners. So, just going on the stats here, I did oppose Wolf of Badenoch when everyone else seemed to fancy him last time out, saying that he was flattered at Goodwood because of that Goodwood come late under Jamie Spencer and flattered to deceive and looked like winning but never actually having any chance of getting there. He got chinned at Doncaster next time. I'm not particularly keen on him again. 3-1 Silver Peak versus 7-4 Delacroix, given their stables' respective records in the races. I think it's a massive plus for Silver Peak, and it's store 1 as well. Only 6 runners, but if they're all going far side, he'll be first of that row.
Yeah, that stable form in this race doesn't lie, does it? Then Silver Peak 4-1 in comparison to 7-4 for Delacroix. Dave, were you in agreement?
Yeah, definitely. It's easy one for choice, isn't it?
What is going on?
Although Andrew's obviously still on William Hill's putting that bet on, because you can get 4-1, 3-1 is the bottom price you can get Silver Peak, but that's probably the price that it will be by the time this goes out. Pretty much all the same reasons that Andrew's saying, except the fact that there is some substance to the form as well. Silver Peak's definitely stepped forward for the 2 runs. First time was on the all-weather with Billy Loughnane up top. That was behind Detain, who we've seen come out this week. He's gone down to, I think he's like 7-1 for the Futurity Stakes later on. And if you think that he's that price, you've got horses like the Lion and Winter, Wimbledon Hawkeye, hot as hell, that are like 5, 6, 7-1 for the same race as well. Shows the caliber of horse that he bumped into then. He was a bit wide outside as well, and like was probably a bit more forward than he needed to be in that race. But by the time that the race had got going, he did knuckle down and keep going, and he proper stuck his neck out as well, which I like in a horse, because the attitude of a horse to like basically be able to achieve their best potential, they have to be like willing and wanting to do that. That's another massive negative for this Delacroix. Last time in the juvenile champion stakes at Leopardstown, attitude stunk and looked like almost got up on top of the line, was never going to actually win the race. But it was one of those that after the race you just think to yourself, what could they have done differently to get the horse to win the race, as opposed to the fact that the horse like was well and truly beaten. But he did look well and truly beaten, like a furlong, a couple of furlongs out. And then his previous race as well, he was messing about in the stalls at the start as well. So look, he's clearly got bundles of ability. There's just something not quite right about Delacroix. He's 7-4 top price at the moment. I reckon there's a big chance. I know there's a big price difference, 7-4 and 4-1. I reckon these two could potentially flip flop. Even Silver Peak's last run, where he beat Dinadan, pulled up from behind that horse as well. So it was like a nice William Buick ride. Those two were miles clear of anything. That's Dinadan's come out this week again and won a Pontefract Class 2 novice in like real decent fashion. So I can't believe there's such a price discrepancy between the two of them. I fully expect that Silver Peak will win this, and I think that Silver Peak could go a favourite.
You two in agreement once again there, and the fact that Silver Peak may well be well supported should our favourites as well. We'll hopefully get to that price now, about 4-1 then, about Silver Peak in the Group 3 Autumn Stakes. Right, the 240 now at York. This is for Sprint Trophy Handicap, Heritage Handicap, 0-105 contest, 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. 22 runners to go out in this one for you, Dave. So nice and wide open. And your mate is in here, buddy. 12-1, good old Summerghand. So you're going to stick with him or pass?
Yeah, just make it stop. I can't.
He runs every weekend. It's never going to stop.
But it gets
to be like a Scottish player, you're not allowed to mention his name.
Yeah.
It gets worse though, Kate, because he's got a good draw. We talk about the draw at York. He's drawn in stall 2. Yeah. David Amir has taken this 3 times in the last 8 run-ins. Like, aside from the fact that he's Summerghand and I'm going to bet him regardless, there's no reason to possibly want to take him on. Like, if he was drawn out in the car park and David Amir didn't have the record in the race, like, there'd be negatives to put in there, but there's nothing about it. So look, I don't want to get involved too heavily in any of the handicaps at the back end of the season, but I will obviously bet Summerghand, so we'll just leave it there.
Happy to leave it there. I say he runs every week. It's actually 3 weeks since we last saw him. It's pretty much a summer holiday for him at this point then. But Summerghand then, right, we'll leave Dave to it, just toiling away at 12-1 then for Summerghand. Andrew, who'd you like?
Yeah, I've got 10 rules of punting. The 11th one this year is never bet 10-year-olds in heritage handicaps.
It served you well.
Although the plus point for Summerghand here, despite his advancing years, is that he's drawn low, and there's some incredible draw stats in this race. In the last 10 years, if you bet all those drawn 10 or higher, 1 winner from 110 runners. Expected number of winners based on their prices was closer to 5. If you bet all the runners drawn 9 or lower, 9 winners from 90 bets, and you made a profit as well of over 20 quid. Now, if you throw in the fact that if you throw in the low draw and aged 4 to 6, so ignore the 3-year-olds, ignore the 7-year-olds and older, sorry, Summerghand, you get an even bigger profit. And we've got based on that, we've got a short list of 4. This is your TriCast. So get your pens and paper out, or young persons, your electronic devices. Secret Guest, Orazio,
yes!
the Green Man, and Strike Red.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back, I think it was 3 years ago, that angle produced the 1, 2, 3. I think the second was 40-1 that day. And I think since then it's had a forecast as well. So look at ages 4 to 6, drawn 1 to 9, and you'd be quids in. No guarantee that's going to repeat itself, but what the hell? Got to be worth the price of a lottery ticket.
So just because I interrupted you celebrating when one of those names were revealed, but just those 4 names again, Andrew, just in case anyone missed it.
Yeah, Secret Guest, Orazio, the Green Man, and Strike Red all qualify as being drawn in stalls 1 to 9 and being aged between 4 and 6. I think it was 2021. The first 3 were drawn 7, 2, 10, although there was a non-runner drawn low, so the 10 was actually 9. That was a 40-1 shot. The TriCast paid 2.5 grand. The Tote Trifecta paid almost 3.5 grand. So it might just be worth mucking around with some low draw combination exactas and trifectas. And to say, Montes 10-1 beat significantly 11-2. Those were both drawn low a couple of years ago as well. I haven't been back much further through, but again, it's it could be the way. It could be sort of worth having a crack at the York play spot as well, loading it up with low drawn runners.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just so glad every time when you reveal the trends that they've landed you on certain horses, that mine just happened to have landed on the same one there. Because again, I mean, this one, I believe I actually napped Montesib in this race last year. So I really like this race and I really like to try and follow those same things.
Well, so just going back to, if you're looking to narrow me down to one or two, Strike Red was poorly drawn in the Air Gold Cup. And his last two runs here have produced a win and a close second in a field of 18. So he's in stall 9. And the Green Man was quite interesting. He was off for a while. He was off for a year before finishing 5th to Fresh at Ascot. Bombed out next time out, but that was at Wolverhampton. And now he's had a couple of runs. Not impossible that, say, Joseph Parr's the Green Man, yard among the winners as well. Might run some sort of race 28-1, I can see at the moment.
Yeah, nice big price as well. But yeah, the name that I was celebrating there was Orazio. So yeah, I wanted to go and target this race again after the success of it last year. And Orazio, 5-year-old, which I did like for this, well, 4 and 5-year-olds, I was trying to like nail it down to 96 to 102 rated. He's 101. So we've had 2 winners in the last 6 years, I believe it is, 6-7 years, rated 102. So low draw, of course, as you both said, to the 4 and 5, held up horse. I think he is very much a win or bust type of a horse though nowadays. That penultimate start when he finished out the back of the screen, and it was reported that the jockey said that day, I think it was William Buick, said that he stopped very quickly. So that's obviously not ideal. And the fact he did run poorly last time out as well. But I want a horse that ran in the Air Gold Cup last time out. Ideally ran better than he did. But at the same time, though, I'm so pleased that you've said similar about a 20-1 shot for Orazio. Right, we're going to head back to Newmarket now for the 3 o'clock. The Group 1 Dewhurst Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. The big one of the weekend. The Lion in Winter back to even money favourite now, Andrew. So do you take him on or should he just go and win this?
Well, this is good training for the jump season because 2 yards dominate a big race. So we're going to have for Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott, swap them for Charlie Appleby and Aidan O'Brien. They've got 5 of the 6 runners between them. The exception is Seagull's 11 for Hugo Palmer. Was it 2 years ago when Chaldine won this? There were 7 runners from 7 different trainers. 10 years ago, there were only 6 runners, but again, 6 different trainers. So it's amazing how 2 yards are dominant this time around. It's funny, the Lion in Winter. You look back at his debut effort, and apart from the stablemate Ides of March, who was 3rd in that race when favourite, the rest of the form was useless. The other runners in that race are 0 from 37 in their careers between them. But then, of course, you go to the Acomb win. Although he was well, because immediately after the Acomb, I thought, he's well drawn. He was always towards that far side rail. Maybe he was flattered, but of course, Wimbledon Hawkeye was also well drawn that day. Has come out and won since. The Waco Kid in 4th has come out and won, and he then starts saying, well, maybe he's not experienced enough for this race because most Dewhurst winners had had 4 or 5 previous runs. Those who had 2 or fewer runs, just 1 from 20. But that was City of Troy last year, representing the same trainer. So it's very hard to take on confidently. Again, there's only 6 runners, so draw-wise, even though he's 5, if they go far side, maybe Shadow of Light will be first to that rail, if indeed that rail is favoured. So I'm just going to go Shadow of Light. The fact that he's had the 4 runs, the fact that he's drawn his stall 1, I think that might be an advantage. But I don't want to be getting too involved in this race because I could see the Lion of Winter bolting up by 5 lengths and being the next City of Troy.
Yeah, and potentially being that then and going unbeaten from 3 starts, but Shadow of Light, though, that price about 3-1, and the fact he's even being targeted at this when they said next year is going to be a Commonwealth Cup horse, we're going to drop him back down. That's what Charlie Appleby said straight after the last day. So it's interesting that they're wanting to try the 7 furlongs at this point. Probably, Dave, to save on trying it before the Guineas next year. At least they might have their answer, what to target next year as a result of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit like disappointing for Ancient Truth, I think, because I like this horse. I thought his performance last time out was pretty impressive. I think he still looked a bit raw of a horse, and obviously he's had a bit of a break since then. Buick's decided not to ride him, and you'd think after that run this would have been the aim for him. So the fact that they are throwing in a horse that's been winning at 6 furlongs, and like I napped him, didn't I, when he didn't run at Newbury? That was the Millreef Group 2. He wasn't even going to be favourite potentially that day for that race. Then obviously he goes and batters Whistle Jacket. So obviously recently he's been giving William Buick a pretty awesome field to run him in this race, but I still think I prefer what I've seen from Ancient Truth. Similar to what the Lion and Winter did on debut. I understand exactly what Andrew's saying in terms of the form of it, but you get horses that will finish behind big names, won't you, that will just be absolutely useless, but we try and use that as a positive. The Lion in Winter in his own right when he won that day was just filthily impressive. What type of horse that you look at and think, wow, that is actually an absolute aeroplane. I got the same feel with Ancient Truth as well when he won last time out. So it's a proper good race. Shadow of Light, Ancient Truth, the Lion and Winter, I think are all potentially phenomenal horses. I don't think I could ever bring myself to have a bet in it because I couldn't split between the lot of them. Lion and Winter definitely deserves to be favourite. But because there are two genuinely properly good horses in there, Shadow of Light and Ancient Truth, I think you'd have to risk quite a bit on even money poke, wouldn't you, to try and make it pay. And then I think there's enough in the race to say maybe you'd leave it a little bit. Look, I'm sure he'll be fine travelling and everything, won't he? But we have seen O'Brien horses that have travelled over and, you know, bombed first time when they've run here. I know City of Troy was fine when he ran in the Superlative Stakes first time he came over, but it's one of those, isn't it? There's things about it that an even money point there'll be better opportunities, I think, but it's one hell of a race.
It's going to be really enjoyable regardless, and both of you have basically said that this is just going to be an enjoyable race to watch more so than probably a betting opportunity in this instance. Right, to York then with the 3:15 nursery handicap. So we've got 2-year-olds yet again here, but we've got the handicapping version in this one over a mile, Dave, so it just gets easier.
Oh, it doesn't, does it? There's Chepstow as well on Saturday. I can't believe I waited this long before I said the C word as well, but I don't know. I've done as much effort as I can on the group races. They've kept me going on the flat, but I didn't have enough time to look at this Zerowich in the depth that it probably deserves. Obviously, there's the Willie Mullins horse, isn't there? Sea of Sands, owned by his wife, I think, came back and won at the Listowel Festival in a shortish price. William Buick's been booked for it. He's won this race in the past. I mean,
sorry, I teed up the wrong race. Sorry, guys, I teed up when I looked at this the other day. The 3:15 at York was in it. Sorry, ignore that. I was like, why is he talking about the Cesarewitch? I've just double checked that they're not showing this now on ITV. The 3:15 at York, they've whipped it out. Sorry, Dave, to interrupt you there, but just to go back to it, the Cesarewitch is what we're now covering. The Heritage Handicap 340. At Newmarket over 2 mile team. Sorry to interrupt that. I put in a race that's not even on ITV. I was wondering why I didn't have prices. Continue, please.
No, it's all good. We'll see if we can get the editor to do something with that to make it look like we're not complete and utter idiots. But we are. Everyone knows that. That's why we're so lovable. But yeah, I didn't get enough chance to look at it in too much depth. The Sea of Sands horse is obviously very interesting, but despite the fact that we've only got 25 runners this year, often there'll be 30 plus. Makes me wonder whether people in the horse racing world have spoken to each other and they know they can't beat this Willie Mullins horse. But it changes the complexion of it quite a bit, doesn't it? Typically, you wouldn't have a winner that's drawn higher than like 2/3 of the field. I don't know whether that's going to translate all the way back down now, if it's going to be that you need to be drawn top 16 or not. The only one that from like a potential trendy perspective that on the numbers that I did that would come out would be Endawi has a bit of a chance. But the horses that have got hurdling experience that run in here normally are like 44 pounds different from their hurdle to their flat rate. And this one's 43. So I don't know. It feels like a race where I'd like to watch it because I think it'll be a good spectacle, but I've got absolutely zero interest in trying to find the winner, so I'm sorry.
No, you do not have to apologise. I just thought that this would be right up your street then for these National Hunt horses going in here, but alas not. We're going to save it for the jump season proper for Dave. Andrew, who'd you like?
Yeah, strange one. Only 25 runners, say only 31 runners last year, 33 going back 10 years. Four runners in the Scoop 6 going on it, and would have been handy if there was a few fewer that year. Looking at the record of Irish trainers, in the last 10 years, they've won it on 5 occasions, but that was from just 62 runners. You'd have made a tiny profit at SP by backing those blind. British-based trainers, 5 winners as well, but from 253, not 62 runners. So a massive loss of 168 quid. Now, what tends, basically all 10 winners in the last 10 years finishes in the top 6 last time out, and 8 of those were ridden patiently in their prep race. Although Newmarket traditionally favours prominent races, this race with a huge field, they often go too quick. Some of the sort of lighter weighted no-hopers who've been running over a mile 6 and don't get this tripped off a little bit too fast. So look for a horse who was in the top 6 last time out and ridden patiently. And also freshness has been quite key as well, with most of the winners being off for more than a month. So 32 days or longer. So that's a slight concern for Sea of Sands, who raced just 17 days ago. The ones who sort of qualify as potential on that system is Run for Oscar, the Shunter, the Darby, Aquam for Ian Williams, although they've lost a couple of intended prep runs for that one. Manxman, Anna Bonina, but she's a spring horse. Reverend Huber and Lady Percival. And what I'm interested in is it Jacovec Cavern for Emmett Mullins. Hayley Turner, I thought, was an interesting booking. This one's likely to be ridden patiently. Finished second, beat 3/4 of a length in a Galway handicap by Bustleton last time. And that was first run for the yard. Comes from off the pace. Been nibbled out in the betting, quite well backed, I think, since the final declarations were revealed. So I thought Jacovec Cavern for Emmett Mullins could be the one. Might start favourite, despite the fact he's in 13-2 compared to the Mullins horse 9-2 at the moment.
The sneaky Emmett Mullins, though, not sneaky, just shrewd, isn't he? And of course, then with the Shunter last year, who runs again in it this time around. But yeah, Jacovec Cavern has been really well back, 12-1 into 13-2, and Hayley Turner booked to ride for Andrew. Right, Andrew, back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
Not really had a chance to look at the jumps in detail yet. The only one that caught my eye at Newmarket was Funny Story. Is that in the 4:15? No, the race after this is Zarowich, a race that she won last year. The worry is that 9 of the last 10 winners were 3-year-olds, but she's got the blinkers on for the first time, which is a positive statistical angle for Rafe Beckett. And the only non-3-year-old winner in the last 10 years was a 16-1 shot, also trained by Rafe Beckett, which was Vicenza in 2019. So maybe the blinkers can revitalise Funny Story.
In the 4:50 at Newmarket, their final race on Saturday. Dave, anything from anywhere else?
Of course there is. Chepstow's on. I wasn't going to leave the people without one. Krabilly will win the Silver Trophy.
Hang on. Stuart's inquiry will win. Responsible gambling.
Responsible gambling, but I think that Krabilly will win the Silver Trophy, the 320 at Chepstow on Saturday. No prices as yet, but if you get 4-1 or bigger, I think that's fair.
Stuart's inquiry. Krabilly, though, who Dave thinks will win in the Silver Trophy handicap hurdle at 320 at Chepstow. Right, Dave, back to you, please, for your nap.
I think Krabilly will win the Silver Trophy at Chepstow. Therefore, here's my nap for this weekend. Beautifully
worded and beautifully enunciated there as well. Andrew, your nap, please.
I'm going to go for Silver Peak in the 225. That's the Godolphin runner.
Yes, to take on then the Ballydor favourites at the head of the market. And yes, that's don't lie then on that yard and their record in that race. Right, that's everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Dave and to Andrew for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to you at home for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. I will speak to you again next week.